All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome into the KSL Stream Center. I am Shara Park. Good to have you here on a Tuesday. For many of us coming back off of spring break, and this is a great topic here as we are going to be talking about a behind-the-scenes story here. Uncover rental car risks, right? So many of us are coming off of a vacation week, perhaps, where we may have been renting a car. And this is the perfect subject to talk about. And so we've got our investigative reporter, Matt Gephardt, joining us today to talk about this. Matt, hey, how are you?
Good morning.
Did you have a spring break? Did you get to go out and
We
go do
did.
something?
We did. We went to Paris, so there were no rental cars involved. There were trains involved. But
Trains,
yes,
planes, automobiles, all the things.
Yes, that's right.
I love
Everything
that.
but an automobile. Yeah.
Everything except the rental car. Hey, I love that you went deep into this topic here, because this is something that many of us have experienced. We get to the rental counter, right? We have had that rental car, and that question comes up, right? What's the question, Matt?
The question is, do you want our extra insurance?
Okay, and I always say no, because I think my insurance covers that rental policy, right? If I get into an accident. But this is a story where we have found a gap.
We have indeed, right? And yeah, we've all been trained. I've been trained since I was 16 years old. Say no, but you are covered between your the insurance you already pay for on your car, or maybe even your credit card covers you. And so just say no. And
say no.
Just say no. It's just and it's always high pressure, because these rental car
Right.
companies make money on this. And sometimes there have been other stories done by other reporters talking about there's even commissions that are sometimes paid. So these are high pressure sales tactics usually. And it's like, no, absolutely not. Well, we interviewed a woman who lives in the Sandy Draper area who said no, because she had her own personal insurance, and then she still ended up with a more than $1,200 bill after a fender bender, after somebody had hit her.
Minor fender bender here.
Yeah, and it really comes down to three things. So the car was repaired. As per the terms of, in fact, it was the other driver's fault. So the other driver's insurance paid to repair the car. So how does she end up with these extra fees, right?
Bill?
Yeah. And so the answer is threefold. One, she was charged of several $100s in just administrative fees for the privilege of Avis rental cars running her claim, processing her claim and processing the thing. They charged her several $100s. Two, they charged her what they called loss use. So basically, for all the time that the car was in the shop getting the fender bender buffed out and patched up, that's time they could not be renting the car. And so they decided that was worth several $100s. And then they charged her this, what I think is a questionable fee, diminished value.
I was going to say administrative fee.
No, administrative fee. I mean, that's that is what it is. But diminished value, and we've reported on diminished value before from a couple of different angles, and that is basically this idea that it's kind of like the check the Carfax thing, right? If you have a car that's never been in an accident, then your car is worth more than if all of a sudden you pull up the vehicle history report and it shows, hey, this vehicle has been in an accident. That automatically makes the vehicle worth less money. And so in this case, this woman was charged a diminished value. And diminished value, the reason it's a wonky thing, because this only really matters if the person selling the car is turning around and selling it today. If you got in a car accident and you were turning around and selling it today, you could easily calculate how much money less the car was worth, because here's what it's worth brand new and here's what it's worth today. But unless you have plans to sell it today, cars depreciate like crazy over time. And so the idea that she had to pay this fee for diminished value when, in fact, the value hasn't actually been diminished until the rental car company turns around and sells the car, I find that one a bit wonky.
This is wonky. Okay, well, I want to watch this story here, because you got into this. You ended up contacting the rental car company. Matt, this is something I feel like I am always questioning. What do I say when I get to that counter? And could I find myself in a major situation where I owe hundreds, if not thousands of dollars if something happens to me in this scenario? So let's see what you end up doing, what you found out when it came to this woman's situation here. So let's watch the story and where we end up. And then I have a few more questions for you after.
This is an explosion of the water hitting the wave.
Debbie Sanich loves Hawaii. From its stunning volcanoes to its incredible beaches, Debbie is all in. Well, except for maybe this one moment.
He pulled right out in front of us and we hit his car.
Yeah, Debbie got into a fender bender while driving an Avis rental on the Big Island. She was not too concerned. Her car insurance covers rentals, so she didn't feel the need to buy Avis's collision damage waiver.
I don't take their insurance because my insurance is supposed to cover all rentals.
Plus, Debbie says the other driver's insurance company paid for the damage, so all is well, right? Well, no. According to this bill, there is apparently a gap big enough you could hula through it.
Administrative fee, loss of use, and diminished value.
Yeah, Avis is charging her $300 just for handling the claim, then another $564 for loss of use. That's money Avis says it lost while the car was out getting fixed. Plus, she has to pay $392 for diminished value. That's how much less Avis thinks their car is now worth because of the crash. Altogether, $1,256.
This was a fender bender. You know, what if somebody wiped out the whole side of the car? This could be $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. And then what?
Debbie says she protested the surprise bill, but when Avis refused to budge, she decided it was time to call me. The KSL investigators reached out to Avis to ask about all of this. A spokesperson wrote, quote, "If our rentals are in an accident without proper coverage, our policy requires those involved to cover the costs. In this instance, rental vehicle coverage was not purchased when the vehicle was reserved."
There's still going to be some items that you're responsible for.
I took all of this to longtime insurance agent Brent Thurman of Keystone Insurance. He says that when it comes to loss of use, very few auto policies actually cover it. He says that would be akin to asking your insurance to cover your car payment while your car is in the shop.
We'll cover the liability, but it doesn't mean we're going to necessarily pick up your obligation for the daily rental fee.
And a rental company can hold you to that obligation even if you are not at fault. Same goes for administrative fees and diminished value.
It's nothing that's actual. It's a perceived value drop. And with insurance companies, they can't pay based on hypotheticals.
So where does this all leave renters? Well, check with your credit card company. It actually may cover some or all of those fees if you pay for the rental using your credit card. Another option is you can buy the rental company's collision damage waiver.
Many people don't take it because it's a fair amount of money per day.
We're talking $30 to $45 daily. That's the downside. The upside is it does free you up from all the fee worries, provided you don't break the rental agreement. Plus, since your insurance company is not involved, no deductible, and you won't see your premium go up. But are those waivers always the right answer?
I don't know, Matt. It's a hard call.
In the end, Debbie paid Avis the $1,256, but she says with all of her rentals over the years without an incident, skipping the waiver has saved her a ton of money.
I don't want to pay the extra fee for the rentals. You know, I mean, that's a lot.
Debbie, I don't either. Okay. I have to admit something, Matt. I made a mistake. I forgot to hit the live button on Facebook. We were going live on YouTube, and there were some great comments on YouTube. I'll bring those up here. So if you're joining us live on the Facebook page, so we're going behind the story here with Matt Gephardt. This was a great story that aired last night, an investigative report here going uncovering the rental risks. When you go to the rental counter and they ask you if you want that extra insurance to cover your rental when you're out on vacation or whatever, and you've got that rental policy to cover the extra risk factor when you're out, you know, with that rental policy and you get into an accident and you're not sure if your own personal insurance covers everything when you're out in that rental car, and you think it does. And this is that gap, those loopholes that Matt has uncovered with poor Debbie here. And it turns out it doesn't cover everything. And so if you're joining us on our Facebook page, which I see people are now joining us, weigh in if you've ever had a issue like this where you've rented a car and turns out you're not fully covered, like our friend Debbie here. And Matt's dived into her issue, and we're getting into some of the nuances of that. But Matt here, so you find out, so Debbie finds out her insurance covers one portion of it, but then there's all these other little fees, Matt, that come later. And so take me through, what was it that basically she later finds out that she has to cover?
Yeah, so she was, as many of us, including me, have been trained since we were driving for the first time. If you rent a car, just say no, just say no.
Just say no, and I have every time.
Every time.
And
you're always covered.
Risk, right? So now we're weighing risk.
And so, well, yeah, right. And so it's you're covered through your own personal policy, or you're covered through your credit card. Probably, right? And so it's always a good idea to make sure you actually have those coverages. But in the case of Debbie, and what some rental car agencies have figured out is they can tack on these additional fees for people who do decline those waivers. And so in the case of Debbie, in the story you just saw, the story we aired last night on KSL 5 News at 10, she was hit with several $100s in administrative fees. She was hit with several $100s in basically what they call lost use. So basically the time they couldn't rent the car out, she ended up having to pay for that, and diminished value. They say their car is worth less, and they expect Debbie to pay more. And sure enough, this was something she agreed to in that contract, and she was out more than $1,200.
And that was not something her insurance covered.
No, her insurance covered what insurance companies cover, right? This would be akin to, pretend it wasn't a rental for a minute. Pretend it was you and your neighbor, and you guys crash into each other.
Yeah.
Insurance is going to get involved, and they're going to get both cars back on the road. And they may, depending on what your insurance is, even cover a rental. But they're not going to make your car payment for you while your car's in the shop. They're not going to rotate your tires while your car's in the shop. They're not going to...
the administrative fees.
Yeah, they may or may not pay you diminished value. They're not going to charge you administrative fees, although maybe you see that in terms of premiums go up. But yes, these are the sort of things that you don't typically pay for in a typical car crash. But in the case of a rental, you agree to pay for these other things. So yes, your insurance indeed covers you and gets the car back on the road.
For the car.
To get the car back on the road, to get the car repaired. However, there can be these other hidden fees that you can be smacked with.
So you find out that there is the possibility that your credit card company might pay for those. Might. And that's the big question here. So I think the solution here, and the thing I will do, the thing I've been asked is like, so am I going to start getting this insurance? And I honestly don't know. I really don't know. Would you? So that's a question. Would you? Matt Gephardt, when you walk up to the counter, are you going to get it?
I don't know.
I
truly don't know. I think here's where I've kind of come to. It kind of depends on where I'm going to be driving, how comfortable I am. Somewhere in the United States, probably no. Somewhere outside of the United States, depending on what country I'm in, maybe. Truly, maybe. I don't know. Where maybe I'm less familiar. If I have family in Australia, we drive on the other side of the road there, so it's always a little weird, a little wonky pulling out.
Like, what is the risk? Like, you got to weigh the risk.
Yeah, and I'm not as solid of a driver. I'm jet lagged or whatever. So there's I truly don't know whether or not I would be paying for these sorts of things for myself in the future. What I will be doing, without question, is anytime I know that a rental car is involved, is I will be reaching out to my credit card company and my insurance company ahead of time and saying, what do I need to know? I did this story. I saw this story about Debbie.
What am I covered for?
And what am I not covered for? Okay, hey, print this story out and take it to your insurance agent. When they say you're covered, say, what about this stuff? Am I covered regarding this stuff? And get an answer to that.
$34. So you're looking, okay, what is the coverage? $34. How many days am I out on this trip? Let's add up the numbers. Okay, then what would the cost of a fender bender? And then, you really have to do the math.
Yeah.
Right? And then weigh the risks.
It is. Anything with insurance is always risk versus reward. And could you be out of money? But what to me was the kick in the teeth for this one is, I have insurance. I'm double covered. I got a credit card that has it, and I've got personal insurance, and I've been told that makes me good. And that's what Debbie was told. And
poor Debbie.
Yet she ended up with this bill.
I feel so bad for Debbie in this situation.
So do I.
Somebody weighed in. Sounds like they're charging you a series of penalty fees for not buying their insurance. Why, Matt, is it that I always feel like I am the one, how do I say this appropriately? Being... Why do I always feel like I'm getting screwed in this situation? I have all the insurance in every situation, and I always feel like I'm gonna get charged.
I think. Well, I would say the moments that I feel like that are things when I am not used to it. Right, the transactions we do every single day are the transactions we're used to. And anytime you're in a situation where you're doing something that is out of the ordinary. Most of us don't regularly make insurance claims. Most of us don't. Another example. Most of us don't regularly call lawyers. Most of us don't go to the mechanic, twice a week, right? And these are the situations that historically we always kind of, or we go buy a new car. We do that once every 5 to 10 years or whatever the case may be. And so those are the situations where historically, I think when we're out of our comfort zones, we feel like we have the potential to be taken advantage of. Not that we always are necessarily being taken advantage of, but those are the situations where I feel like, and that's where doing homework on the front end. To that commenter's point, I can't refute it.
I know.
I can't refute it.
I know. I feel icky. I feel sad for Debbie. So she ended up paying it.
Yeah,
she
had
ended
to.
up paying it.
She agreed to in the contract. Had to.
She had to.
Would have been sent to collections otherwise.
Oh, I'm dealing with my own situation, Matt. Can I tell you my story
Yes,
right now?
please.
Okay, so this is a Matt Gephardt story. Okay, okay. Not that I'm going to have you investigate this because I'm dealing with my own, but I always feel like these are Matt Gephardt stories. Very similar in the sense of, in Hawaii, we rented a car. This is a warning for everybody. Third party, Wise Cars, rented a car in Hawaii. A year later, Thrifty ends up sending us a bill because Wise Cars didn't pay Thrifty for it. Oh. They sent us a bill a year later. And we said, we paid this through third party, Wise Cars. And they said, well, they never paid us. So now we're having to pay Thrifty, who sent us to collections because Wise Cars didn't pay Thrifty. And now we're having to pay it twice.
Yeah. Are you fighting?
Oh, well, we've tried, but they sent us to collections now.
Yeah, I know. And what's your credit worth on top of the?
I know. So now we're paying it twice.
And there's something about Hawaii.
It's about Hawaii.
There is something about, well, you got Debbie here. You've got your situation. I did a couple of years ago.
Careful, people. Careful.
Really? I mean, I did a couple of years ago. Someone who was they got a flat tire. It was as I recall a holiday, Christmas probably, and they got a flat tire and they called the rental car company and they sent out a wrecker and the wrecker brought them a new car, dropped it off, and then took the old car away, and then they got a bill saying you damaged our car and you agreed to pay for damage to this car. And it's like, we didn't damage the car. And they sent them pictures and sure enough, there was some damage on the front end. And it's like, that's not how it left when it got on that wrecker and drove away. I don't know what happened between the time it got off the wrecker and got back to the lot and went off to get the tire changed or whatever. But all of a sudden they're getting these bills and they're getting sent to collections. And this was not, I can't for sure remember which. It was not Avis, I can tell you that, and it was not Thrifty. I believe it was a different rental car company. But the point being, we are now 3 different rental car companies, all in Hawaii. There's something about the Aloha State and rental cars.
Something fishy going on there.
Where you do, there are certainly, I know of now 3 complaints in the state of Utah where people were hit with money that they were not expecting to have to pay.
I know. So yeah, we're trying to fight it, and Thrifty's telling us, well, you agreed through a third party. Now you have to pay us because you agreed through a third party. So all I know is through my own personal story.
Yeah.
Rent through directly the company you want to work through. That's my own personal struggle here. So now I'm dealing with the situation as well. So I feel for Debbie. I definitely understand her pain on this one. Mine's not as big. My bill's not as big as hers. But I feel for her pain right now.
And it's expensive and it's unexpected and it just stinks.
It does.
Because you think you did everything, you dotted all you did what you're supposed to do.
You
You are a
paid your
good
bill.
citizen. You paid your bills, you got your insurance, you went over there, and somehow you're getting this bill months, years in your case, down the road, and it's like, and then how do you fight it? How do you go back and prove a negative? That damage was not there. I mean, I do remember the end of that story was, I guess, take photos and videos of the thing being hauled away so you can fight it because really that's what this all comes down to. This is contract disputes, which means ultimately, if you can't get there on your own, it means court. It means judges. It means juries. It means, and what, you're going to fly to the Aloha State to fight a $300 bill? Maybe that's what it is about Hawaii. I don't know.
Wow. Okay. So bottom line, your advice. You get to that counter, you've got to know your policy way ahead of time before you get there. You got to weigh your risk on that, and then you've got to be informed. Getting up to that counter, know whether or not you want to take that risk and know what your policy covers, and then make that decision. At least an informed decision at that point.
My advice is that it's no longer what I always thought it was, which is just say no. You do need to think about it.
I thought I knew everything. When
Me too. Me too.
I am so much more informed now because of this story. All right, Matt Gephardt, what else is on the horizon for you that we can look forward to being more informed?
Well, let's see. We got a couple of good ones cooking. Coming up tonight on KSL 5 News at 10, we're doing a story about how more scams. But in this case, it's we think about people getting into the deep, dark web to get our personal information, but how they're really rummaging through our trash to get some of our personal information. And like, oh, yeah, you think about it. Okay, I'm not so stupid as to throw away a W-2, which has my name, address, and social security number on it.
I sometimes just throw mail away. I'm a little worried about that.
But really, any mail. I mean, we're talking about like if I simply get, junk mail from my bank and I throw that away, well, now somebody can go in there and they know Matt Gephardt banks at this particular bank, and they can call me up and impersonate my bank. And so we're seeing a lot more kind of these sophistications directed attack. So the big punchline of what has happened with scams in the last few years is the number of victims has gone down. Oh, hey, that's great, you might be thinking. But the number of money has gone way, 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 way up. And why is that? It's because the days of sending out the mailers to everyone over 60 years old in the country and saying, you've won Publishers Clearinghouse, pay me $300 to claim your tax.
Different now.
No, they target you. They come after you. It's very sophisticated. And so we're going to talk about things we need to do to protect ourselves and things we need to do to watch out for. And that's the thing we're doing tonight on KSL News.
Okay. All right. Check it out. Matt Gephardt, always looking out for us, always trying to protect us and our money. Appreciate it, Matt. You are fabulous. You're always also entertaining in your stories. I always feel like I come away informed and also entertained, and I appreciate it. You're fantastic.
You're very sweet to
All
say
right,
so.
thank you so much. We'll catch Matt again. You can get him on KSL 5 News at 10 and also on KSLTV.com. Matt, thank you so much. Okay, we'll see you guys.